Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Campaign's first event of 2023, Campaign Breakfast Briefing on Ramadan advertising and the year ahead for media and marketing. It's great to see everyone back this year. It's always nice to see a full house. In case you still don't know me, I'm Nadeem Qureshi, the publisher of Campaign Middle East, and I've been working on this amazing title for the past 10 years. Normally, I'm the guy at the back taking care of smaller things, but this time I've been asked to come in front, on the stage in fact. This is because our ex-editor, Austin Allison, has left us to go to Thailand to become a ladyboy or even a designated tuk-tuk driver on Uber. Whatever his future personal choices, we wish him all the very best. Austin was an integral part of Campaign Middle East and helped shape the brand to the powerhouse it is today. Thank you, Austin, for everything. Moving on to the present, we found a strong replacement. He comes to us having worked as a journalist for the past 2 decades across big media houses like BBC, Daily Mail, The Telegraph, Financial Times, and more. I am a firm believer of change, which is always good. So we hired someone with fresh ideas and a new perspective, and we replaced the first alphabet of Austin's name to give you Justin. Yep, that's how we improvise. So please put your hands together to welcome Campaign Middle East's new editor, Justin Harper. Justin, can you come up and say a few words, please?
Thanks, Nadeem. I think it's quite a hard act to follow, lady boys, but I'll do my best. But also, Austin was a hard act to follow. While we share partly the same name, he moved from Middle East to Asia. I moved from Asia to the Middle East. So I come from Singapore, where I worked for some of the big names like the BBC and the Daily Mail. But I've also worked for creative agencies, Sapient Nitro, as it was called back then when I was in Singapore. Reuters Content Solutions. So I've worked in the industry for a bit, but I'm still learning a lot. And having spoken to some of you this morning, it's really a few key themes sort of pop out. I think Saudi Arabia is a major sort of focal point for a lot of people, and we're hosting a couple of events there. So it'd be great to get your views on the sorts of things we should cover for that. Social media influencers, but also I've been told not to use the word influencers. They're creators. So that's something we're working on, a guide for that. So it'd be great to get your views. And I think that was partly why I joined Campaign, having arrived in Dubai, is sort of events like this where I get to talk to the industry, I get to hear your views and your insights, because it's such a dynamic industry. There's so much change, whether it's the growth of the region, artificial intelligence and ChatGPT changing the industry, consumer behavior. But there's definitely a lot going on, so it's a great time for me to join, and I'll be calling on all of you and your views and insights to help me in these early days. So thank you for having me, and look forward to catching up with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. We look forward to working with you. Now, I will be your MC for this event, but in the future, I will be handing this mantle to Justin. I would also like to take this opportunity to introduce our fairly new editorial team. We've got Jalaja Ramananni, who's joined us a couple of months back. There she is. Yeah. She's a senior reporter heading our digital content division. And we also have got Ishwari Khatu. Where you are, Ishwari? There you are, in that corner there. Who's our junior web reporter in charge of content on the website, social media platforms, newsletters, etc. We have a very strong editorial team now. All right. 2023 looks like an amazing year for this region, and we at Campaign Middle East have big plans for this year. We have another event in exactly 1 month on 17th March at the same venue, same time, on New Marketing Strategies 2023. We also have 2 events in Riyadh this year, Campaign Saudi briefings, one in May and one in October. Overall, we have around 10 events this year, and we hope to see you all in each and every one of them. We also have a very strong editorial calendar in 2023, with new themes and much stronger content. You can download a new editorial and events calendar from our website, campaignme.com, and you can also email me for it. You can also follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and even TikTok. We even have monthly podcasts, bi-weekly newsletters. Please make sure you sign up for the newsletters, as this is the best way for you to get involved with Campaign. Well, first of all, I would like to thank our sponsors today, without whom this wouldn't be possible. Amazon Ads help bring brands of all sizes design experiences that delight customers and deliver meaningful results. With over 300 million active customer accounts, first-party insights, and Amazon properties, brands can reach the right audiences in the right place, both on and off Amazon. We would also like to thank Publicis Group, a world leader in communications, combining marketing transformation and the digital transformation of companies. And the final sponsor of today's event is TikTok, the leading destination for short-form mobile video, with a mission to inspire creativity and bring joy. A home for creative self-expression that nurtures authentic, entertaining, and educational content is a diversity of experiences, communities, and content on the platform that brings connections and understanding through the shared language of video. Now, before I hand over the mic to our keynote speaker, I would like everyone to send us your feedback on the content today. You all have a piece of paper in front of you with today's agenda, which has a QR survey code. Please scan it, give us your valuable feedback on each session so that we can work with all our partners for much stronger and relevant content. Now, I would like to hand over to our keynote speaker, who would be talking about on how to belong differently this Ramadan. Please allow me to welcome Jochen Bischoff, Head of Consumer Business Partnerships, MENA, Global Business Solutions at TikTok. Over to you, Dr.
Thank you, Nadeem. Good morning, everyone. It's really a pleasure to see all our partners here from advertisers, agencies, partners and friends and frenemies from other media and platforms. It's really good to be here. And indeed, it's hard to follow up on a ladyboy reference in a Ramadan event, so I'll try my best. My name is Jochen. I've been part of ByteDance, the mother company of TikTok, for the past 2.5 years, and I run the consumer business there. In the spirit of true Ramadan storytelling, I wanted to dwell a little bit on what we mean by belonging differently. So the theme that TikTok has created for this Ramadan is belong differently. And obviously that comes in the context of a platform that is by nature very joyful, very creative, backed by music. How can that be aligned to the spirit of Ramadan? So that's the thinking behind it. And to kick that off, I'll just start helping you understand how did TikTok start belonging in an industry that until very recently was exclusive to very few companies. So what drives TikTok's growth and relevance? And I tested this a little bit with a few of you, and thanks for playing along out there in the small chat, in the small talk out there. Whenever we ask, hey, what makes TikTok so successful, we typically get two answers. And it was confirmed out there by all the stakeholders in the industry. Tech, AI, algorithm. And the reality is that's certainly a part of the success, but all you savvy marketers know that products can only succeed in the moment they meet a consumer demand. And the consumer demand might be very intrinsic, or sometimes it's a little bit less obvious. But ultimately what TikTok tried to address over the course of the last years, and my clicker is not really working, is people want two things: emotional experiences and simplicity. Now, what do we mean by emotional experience? How is that backed up? I think emotional experiences in the digital space over the course of the last years were backed up by more personalized content. Being who I want to be in a virtual world. That's a better emotional experience that people are looking for. And then transactional convenience, backed up by phenomena or the rise of commerce, quick commerce, frictionless e-commerce, the rise of blockchain, online banking. All these things became so popular simply because people ultimately look for simplicity. So these are two consumer demands that are intrinsic to the rise of TikTok. Now, don't forget that tech is always just an enabler to building a great product, right? There's a lot of buzzwords over the last years, from blockchain to the metaverse to NFTs. That was like, what, 1.5, 2 years ago. This year it's AI. You know, suddenly it's a year of AI, even though it's been built for many, many years. So these are the tools and enablers to a product's and success. But ultimately what TikTok really started delivering are these two things: a better emotional experience, and that is a content graph versus what was previously the predominant form of content consumption was a social graph. That's a better emotional experience, backed up by the creator economy. So creators are people like us here in the room. They're not celebrities, meaning Everyone can be a creator, and that drives more hyper-local context, that drives more relevance to people. People can identify with creators much better than with big celebrities. And that also contributes to a better emotional experience. And then the second item is transactional convenience or simplicity. And again, thanks to my mini panelists out there, that came up as well. TikTok is so easy to use. It alleviates you from the decision-taking process that other OTT platforms confront you with, right? Like every time you turn on OTT, you spend 5 minutes, hey, what am I going to watch? And then you need to align that with your partner, and it gets even more complex. You open up the app, you don't need to create an account, and then the personalization driven by an algorithm in AI takes care of all the simplicity for you and takes away the decision-making process. So those are the two things that are decisive to TikTok's rise in relevance. Now, what does it mean for Ramadan? I think in Ramadan, especially, of all periods, people look for better emotional experiences. It's a spiritual time, it's a time with a family, it's a time of belonging and coming together. And people look arguably more than ever for simplicity, simply because there's enough planning around the period of Ramadan that people are confronted with. So anything that simplifies lives, including the entertainment space and how do I spend the nocturnal downtime during Ramadan, is appreciated. Now, that is relevant, Tina, I need you, for everything and for everyone. So whether you watch a key Ramadan event virtually here in Dubai, or whether you walk a souk in Riyadh or Cairo, whether you are in your prime years or whether you are young at heart, whether you are proudly living by yourself or you're part of a big family, everyone celebrates Ramadan differently, individually, but everyone has something to celebrate in Ramadan on TikTok via expression and sharing. And that is confirmed by the very diverse array of hobbies and passions that people pursue, that people consume, that people create around, and that people share always, but high index in Ramadan. Now, beyond celebrating something, everyone has someone to celebrate with. And again, I alluded to the creator economy earlier. The creator economy, by the way, is by now a $100 billion industry and is doubling in size every single year. And TikTok is obviously not the only player that shapes this. But the fact that everyone can be a creator and the suite of solution helps everyone to build drives a lot of different sub-communities, and with that, people find meaning. So they find meaningful connections. I made the comparison between creators and celebrities earlier. So on a lot of social media platforms, we follow celebrities that have 500 million followers, but they were arguably famous before the rise of social media. What happens on TikTok, where everyone can be a creator, I find my subsegment, I find my audience, I find like-minded people, and that builds stronger connections, which is always important, but especially important in Ramadan, my type of people. And with that, there's a talk for everything and everyone. I'm sure many of you identify, be it book talk, food talk, clean talk, car talk. Everyone finds his or her talk to follow, to create around, and to consume content around. And those communities become more important than ever during the holy month. Now, there is this ongoing challenge for brands every year, so it's reoccurring, and it's arguably amplified year by year, to find their way of belonging into what we label key moments in Ramadan. So that paradox is so strong that we label it the paradox of belonging, and we want to help brands understand, okay, how can I fit in? How can I fit into the key moments, thank you, that works better. Can we go back? Sorry about that. Yes. So the paradox of belonging and how brand can fit into key moments. I think a key moment being the iftar moment, the family moment. Tina, I still need you. This is tech is not on my side today. The iftar moment, the family moment, a shopping moment. So the commercially relevant moments to marketeers and brands. How can I fit in? How can I belong? How can I create this year on year, removing myself from the stereotypes of a crescent in my creative, and trying to drive true creativity around key Ramadan moments. Now, in that quest, there's obviously a couple of risks. A, it's a very crowded moment. How do I stand out? How do I break through the clutter? How do I, meanwhile, stay true to myself? I think those are the two big questions that every brand is looking to answer during Ramadan. So not getting lost in a sea of sameness while trying to stay true to my brand essence. And in this overcrowded space, I think there's a few key paradigms that we observe in terms of breaking stereotypes. If you want to click, Tina. So a cooking moment is not just for mom. A shopping moment is not just an errand. And meanwhile, an iftar moment is not just the perfect family meal. So that level of authenticity that people bring to the platform and portray these moments are great opportunities for brands to fit in. And for brands to build out of a transactional moment an emotional experience. And we want to show you one case study, and I just see Mehdi and Maria here in the front row. So how did our partners from L'Oreal, Garnier, translate what is ultimately a skincare routine into a great emotional experience that brought people together during Ramadan?
On the last episode of Case Studies, based on a true story. People love a good musalsal, and what better time to get lost in exciting plots than Ramadan? It's a tradition that allows girlfriends and family members to bond together in front of the TV. Last year, Garnier partnered with TikTok to bond with them too. The solution was simple. Integrate Garnier skincare into the moment and make it a night to remember. With Garnier Hair Food Hair Mask, the Ampule Sheet Mask, and many episodes to enjoy, the Mask with Musalsal campaign was born. Creators were given control to film the whole campaign, resulting in authentic, relatable content based on a true Ramadan tradition. The content was optimized and boosted through TikTok brand auction and collection ads. The outcome? A wholesome and highly successful campaign that resonated with Garnier's TikTok audience by tapping into the heart of a long-standing Ramadan tradition. Time for you too to tell your brand's true story, soon to be a tale of success.
So one great example, there are others. How do I break stereotypes? How do I remove myself from excessive habits? How do I talk with people or speak with people rather than talking at them? There's plenty of opportunity during Ramadan based on the opportunity that creators that will relay their Ramadan experience in the most authentic manner offer to brands. So the question is obviously, what true story should you be writing this Ramadan and in upcoming ones? And we've asked this question ourselves. So us as TikTok, we're very conscious. We always advise our partners, our clients, our agencies to build these authentic and real experiences and to maximize the platform in terms of building emotional experiences with consumers. So what we did this year, we tried to walk the walk. And in our B2B campaign around Ramadan, we wanted to both offer transactional convenience, meaning we wanted to make it very simple to our B2B audience to actually retain what we want to tell them. And we tried to make it an emotional experience and make it humorous and make it joyful and creative, which is truly in line with the spirit and the equity of TikTok. So I'm going to leave you with this snippet of our B2B campaign. And if you're interested in seeing the whole thing, there's little bags around the chairs with a TikTok label on it, and there's a QR code in there in which you could open the full B2B experience. Please, Tina, take us away.
Ramadan is an especially challenging period for advertisers. as it's a month where all media platforms compete for a share of their wallet. With competition revolving around who has the better numbers, we decided to fight numbers with numbers, but in a way that only TikTok can do, through personalized entertainment. Introducing Based on True Stories, we created a vertical cinematic experience designed to demonstrate the power of TikTok's entertainment and tapping into people's love for binge-watching مسلسلات Ramadan. We started our campaign by directly targeting our audience with the first episode of our series, telling them a story about the only numbers worth remembering.
وين رفيقك؟ مش عارف. طب بتعرف انه اخذ منا ملفات كتير مهمة؟ اللي عرفوا ان 3 من 4 مستخدمين بيكتشفوا عربيات جديدة على التيك توك.
The campaign continued as we invited them to a premiere in one of UAE's most iconic cinemas, immersing our audience with our show and inspiring their campaign planning by sharing relevant numbers for their business. Numbers on what influences people,
85% من مستخدمين تيك توك مستعدين ان هم يشتروا لما يتفرجوا على فيديوهات الكريتور.
how they bought,
71% من مبيعات ماركت الضخمة على تيك توك هي مشتريات عفوية.
what they search,
اصلا و3 مليون دورنا على وصفات ورا العنب على التيك توك.
and what they eat.
طلب برجر بلا بصل.
Our series got the attention of various industries, demonstrating once more why entertainment is the most memorable form of creativity.
Thank you. Thank you to Team Campaign. Thank you to Team Campaign for bringing the industry together, again, in the true spirit of Ramadan. I leave you to it and look forward to the panels.
All right, over to you, Akriti.
Okay, perfect. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you for still being with us. I know it's a bit difficult, just sitting in one place for so long, but hopefully we can make this fresh and exciting for everyone. So I'm Akriti Goel. I'm heading strategy at Leo Burnett, which is part of Publicis Group. We're the last panel group today to discuss Ramadan, right? And again, everyone, our dear colleagues have been speaking about Ramadan from a media perspective, channel perspective, also from a platform perspective. I think maybe we'll bring back a little bit of the human element in it. And again, I think the main thing that we want to speak about today is we know that these timeless core values of Ramadan, they're going to be unchanged, right? They remain the same. But maybe we can try and discuss a little bit today about the fresh perspective and bring a fresh perspective on are people changing their behaviors, changing their habits, and then how can brands actually be cognizant of these changes so that they can make sure that they're still being extremely relevant and driving a very, very strong cultural footprint. I'll let my panelists, all of them, sort of introduce themselves, and I'd ask them one question, maybe just as you're introducing yourselves, also talk about the relevance of Ramadan to your brand.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning, my name is Lara Abizaid, and indeed, I'm today representing Mondelez in this panel. I'm the marketing director for Mondelez, looking after equity, innovation, and marketing excellence. Have been in the region for a while, have been with Mondelez for 8 years, and have been a marketeer by heart for 20 years now. I love the content that we're going to be talking about because I keep telling the rest of the panelists it's really all about relevancy. And I think Maria and the team did actually touch base on a very important insight. Every brand has a role to do. But what is really important is to identify the relevancy of the brand and the relevancy of the occasion and marrying both in order to serve our consumers. Because everything we do every day is really to understand our consumer and keep serving them better and better.
Great. Hi, my name is Zila. You can treat the D as silent. It's a very difficult name, I get it. I represent Lego here today. I'm the marketing manager for MIA, and I look after the preschool segment, but also occasions, and as well as PR. I think what's relevant for Ramadan is that, from a global brand, coming here to the region and being able to develop Ramadan campaigns and really progress through them is something that perhaps that we can discuss a bit later, and that's at least what I find it relevant to this. And Yeah, I think, I mean, overall, it's a pleasure to be here, and I'm happy to be also together with all the great panelists to share some of the discussions. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Amer. I head the agency development at Snap. But for us, Ramadan is extremely important because the platform itself is all about authenticity, about visual messaging with your friends and family. So if you just take those attributes and you think of Ramadan, that's exactly what Ramadan is. It's friends and family, authenticity, messaging, talking to each other, being in the moment. So we do see a lot of stickiness and importance and time spent and usage spent on that platform during that time, and even more so in the region, given the importance of the platform with certain segments and certain age groups. We call them the Snapchatter generation, but Gen Z and millennials. And so that's pretty much where they spend their Ramadan.
Hi, my name is Mona Alborno, and I'm the marketing director for UAE shopping malls at Majid Al Futtaim. So, well, Ramadan is all about community connection, family time, sense of belonging. It's all emotional, and us being in shopping malls, being the center and in the heart of this community, we feel responsible to give back to the community and responsible to create great moments for them to come and actually spend more time together, whether across our malls and shop in our centers and spend this holy month actually with us. And it's all about emotional experiences that we like to create, and we feel it's the right time to give back to them during these days.
Fantastic. And I think everyone can agree what's amazing is this panel is so diverse. You know, we have everything from retail to platforms to FMCGs to, you know, global brands trying to create moments of play in the region. And I think leaning in not just to your existing role, but also all of you are veterans in the industry. Maybe explain to us a little bit on what are the main changes that you have observed in Ramadan? You know, what are the main shifts that you have noticed that are happening either in the consumer lens or even as marketeers that we're seeing today?
Yeah, thank you. First of all, before we talk about change, it's important to understand what's staying. And that's very important because no matter how we look at it, which industry, we need to keep remembering that consumers will always appreciate traditions and values. And Ramadan as a season is a season really where everyone appreciates that self-reflection, everyone really goes back into the religion and try to connect together. What's really changing for us is how we connect with them, you know, because change is a predictable constant in our life. And we see that our consumers are evolving. The way they want to connect with us, the way they want to connect with brands or through each other with the exponential growth of technology, that's really what the major change is. Brands need to continue to be rooted in the purpose they want to drive. But how do they connect with their consumer? And the most relevant way is really what is changing. And that's very important on any brands I work with, be it on Oreo, be it on Cadbury Dairy Milk, be it on Barney. When I speak with moms, it's always about I want to elevate my kids with the tradition and the core values at the heart. But I know that the world is progressing. And I know that I need to change and I need to modernize myself, the way I elevate my kids, the way I prepare snacks for them. And the Gen Z, they still want to snack us, but they want to interact with us in new era, in a new platform. So really what is changing is to understand where they are receptive, mostly, and how to connect with them in the most fit for platform. That's really now the challenge that we are. And as marketeers being in the industry for the last 20 years, we need to admit that we need to evolve. We don't know it all, so we have to work with them. The challenge that we're facing today is to understand the language that they want to listen to, the content that they will be more open to consider, and how our brand, which are very clear on the purpose that they stand up for, can simply communicate that in that platform. So that's for me mainly the change.
Yeah, and I agree with Lara in terms of people being a bit more focused on self-reflection and values. I think the pandemic also elevated that to a certain degree. We see a lot of families really wanting to come together more than before because they actually experienced what it means like to be disconnected and in a really difficult time. And during those times, it's just family that really supports you and is there for you. So we see this, the interest, elevated interest in terms of coming together, but not just that, but also spending quality time together. And so we see, parents and kids and families, and even now adults wanting to play together. I mean, what other fun way to really spend that quality time together? And so the kids are actually rubbing off on their parents, and they now want to play as well for their own selves. We see a huge interest in adult sets of Lego play. So that's that. But also, I think during this, the time the quality time they're spending together, they're learning a lot, much more about each other. So parents are actually now getting the time to understand what the kid is actually like. When they spend time to play with them, see them how they solve a problem. They're trying to build a bridge, they're trying to build a tower, and it falls apart, and they're not able to achieve what they want to build. And then how do they come back to it? Do they have that patience? Do they have that resilience to come back and build and do and really achieve what they want to do? So it's also both ways. They're learning a lot about their kids, but also kids are getting to see their parents play with them, which is an amazing thing. So I think more and more we realize this over the past few years, and we're hoping it stays that way, that people are feeling connected to those values and really wanting to spend more time together.
And I think both of you have spoken a lot about the core value of togetherness, right? Still being intact, and especially when it comes to togetherness within the families. I know I speak to a lot of parents, and they talk about technology, and technology sort of getting in the way of family togetherness moments. I wonder, Amer, if you can speak a little bit about how Snap, despite being a technology platform, is also bringing families together, or maybe bringing friends together.
I think I would say it's because we're a technology platform rather than despite. It's truly not a barrier. So Snap is by definition immersive. The two main mediums that we have, or family of products that we have, are either full screen immersive video or augmented reality. And they both are very engaging. And if you look at augmented reality and its role in visual messaging that we were talking about before, it's how can I be authentic, and how can I talk to other people, my friends and family, because that's the whole point. We're not a social media in the traditional sense that it's one to many. It's actually one to the trusted few. But the volume of conversation and discussion and sharing with those trusted few is extremely elevated because, again, there's trust. And so if you take that and you think of Gen Z, whether it's children or it's young adults in the millennials, well, less young adults now, proper adults, but you see that, you were talking about change. The only thing that's changed is where is the conversation happening and where is that interaction happening. So the interaction is still happening. The values, like Lara said, haven't changed, whether it's piety, whether it's family, whether it's togetherness. But now it's moved to that realm, and it's been accelerated, as we all know, 2 years ago by COVID. And I think if you want to bring it back a little bit beyond just behavior, but what does it mean to us as a business community? It's okay, great. So when I'm thinking about my advertising message or my product message, that's the first thing that you want to keep in mind. And while it's intuitive and it's kind of obvious, most of the times when we go into the market, that's not really the behavior. People still think, well, a lot of people, not everybody, some people are way more progressive, of a 30-second TVC, and then let's split it and cut it down to whatever platform. If we want to put it on TikTok, we'll do it this way, we'll put it on Snap or on Instagram, we'll put it that way. But in reality, what we really need to think is, from the get-go, what is my message, where's my audience, and how is it spending its time, and then create content, commercial content that really fits that medium. So the medium is not just an afterthought. The medium truly needs to be one of the first thoughts, and honestly, it gives you a lot of creative ability, because now you have so many different ways of doing it. So when people think about it, I have kids. My first reaction when I see them on their phone is, they're being brainless. But in reality, I realized that most of my conversations and true, genuine conversations that I didn't have with my parents are happening there. We joke together, we share things together. I discover their bigger growing personalities there. They express it back. I think the paradigm needs to be in our minds, not their minds. They're already there. We need to understand that that's the new language. You said language, you're absolutely right. And what are we going to do about it?
And I think before we get to that, we were having a conversation this morning about Generation Alpha.
Yes.
And how no longer they're called Generation Alpha, but they're called Class Generation, right? And we will uncover a little bit more about the youth. But back to you, Mona. Talk to us again, especially from a retail front, right? And I think it's so interesting with all of your extensive mall expertise and experience. It's where Ramadan comes to life. Outside of home, typically in our markets, malls is where families are getting together, shopping moments are happening, entertainment moments are happening, right? What are some of the changes that you have witnessed that have happened in this space?
First, I want to add something about the digital world, because it actually connects to your question to me. I'm a huge fan of how digital transformed us as brand, as consumers, and how I feel like as marketer, my job now became very easy. I can connect with anybody, anytime, right? So it's simple. I always say that to my team. I'm like, just create this amazing video and connect with your consumers. So it just, it's a very nice topic that I want to comment, and I want thanks to Snapchat, TikTok, and all the social media touch point. Because of them, actually, our behavior as a brand changed, and as a consumer behavior towards the brand changed. We're very dynamic now. We're so easy to connect. We connect across the whole year in anything that we want to communicate to them. And sometimes consumers do the marketing for us through the amazing channels that we have. And a true believer of a consumer should be talking about us across all their channels. We need to be very connected, very personal as well. When they visit our malls and they shop, they dine, they entertain with us. That's why we exist as a retail industry, is to create these great moments and for them to connect with their families and use them across all their social media channels. So for Ramadan, and the main changes in retail industry is, again, I think we became more emotional, thinking of the consumer emotions first during the holy month of Ramadan, thinking what they need exactly. I'm not sure if it's working, right? It's working. Thinking of their need on how they want to connect with their family, they want to visit the mall, they want to dine, they want to have a great moment. We create markets for them, because that's the spirit. There's basics in Ramadan that we want to cover. We want to cover the day-to-day. We connect with a great charity organization across the country, and we want to just give the ease to consumers to also connect back to the community and feel that sense of belonging. And another thing as well, the change, let's say this year or last year for Majid Al-Futtaim and specifically for MOE, we also went online. We launched our e-commerce, which is moe.com, and also we launched the recent services called Digital Concierge, where you can shop the whole mall through WhatsApp. It's another transformation, and things that we want to push also through Ramadan is we are promoting the end-to-end experiences. Sometimes, as my colleagues mentioned, it's a whole month where the first week is different than the second week and the third week and the fourth week. And us as marketeer, we understand the change in behavior during the whole month. So we know how e-commerce is very important for some people spending more time with their family, and they prefer to get their stuff over e-commerce, and then some people would like to spend more their time shopping with their family and visiting the mall. So I think it's a great service that people will start using. If you started promoting Ramadan collection online and through social media channels. So we're doing all efforts to support all categories and also to cater to the consumer needs during the month of Ramadan. In more personalized level, I think before, if you ask me exactly what's the major change, is we became more personal with our customers. I know we are mall, we get more than 100,000 customers on a daily basis, but trust me, we do understand their behavior in the mall, what they prefer. We do a lot of research of the Gen Z or Alpha. I mean, we didn't finish Gen Z yet to reach to Alpha. We were just talking about it in the office. So it's a great work that we all need to do to understand consumers and cater to their needs, to be honest.
Perfect. I mean, I'm hearing a lot of need for relevance, need for personalization, and for being more human, right? And I think on that point of really connecting with consumers, and Ramadan is the moment, it's the heart and the soul of the year, it's the moment to emotionally connect with our consumers. As much as we're trying to win their share of wallet, we're also trying to win their share of minds and their hearts, right? And I'm curious to know, especially as a brand like Lego, what are some of the shifts that you've made, or what are some of the, maybe talk to us a little bit about the campaigns that you've been running that have really been connecting with consumers in this moment.
Sure, yeah. I think we started off with a Lego minifigure holding a lantern. That was it. But this was years ago when obviously we didn't have a team established here, and needless to say, any Ramadan campaign requires strong insights to really connect with people. So, but that was, again, years ago. And then it evolved into, after, of course, the team was established, it evolved into the first campaign, which was 2 years ago only. And that was centered around, it's all about, for us, the brand's vision is learning through play. And all what we do is play, but through the process, we learn a lot of things. But we thought, how can we then bring this to Ramadan? And we actually created a campaign that was about teaching kids about the values of Ramadan, the same values we spoke about, through play. And it was, we just picked 3 values, and we said, why don't we teach them to be kind to each other? Or why don't we teach them to be patient with each other? And so these things came up as we were showing actually how when kids play, 2 kids are playing and then the third comes and they ignore her or whatever. But then we were actually showing, include her, just be kind. That's exactly what Ramadan is all about. Or if you're, again, as I said earlier, if you're building something, you can't make it happen, just be patient, it's okay. And this also is very common with the younger kids and the moms working with them, playing with them. It requires patience from parents as well. And also respect, it's a thing that perhaps is disregarded, but especially with current times, but also teaching kids respect through play. Like, do you take your turn to put the brick on the one, or do you let your friend do that first? So all of these things were infused into the campaign. And then, so that was the first year. And then the second year, we were also exploring how else to bring the brand to kids. And we actually thought, why not look at Ramadan from the perspective of kids? Because, us as adults, we always refer to Ramadan as those iftar tables, as those family gatherings and all, great, but how do kids really see it? And we actually brought in kids and just asked them questions. I'm like, what's your favorite thing about Ramadan? Sambusik. And I'm like, it's all the different innocent responses we got, and it's real kids speaking. Another kid was dreaming of a spacecraft flying over the city distributing candies. It's so many different creative ways, and it's their imagination that fueled our campaign. And so we celebrated that platform, and inviting adults to actually come and see Ramadan through the perspective of kids. And again, both of the campaigns scored really well. won awards and all that. So we're continuing with them. And this year we're adding another layer to it, which I can't tell you right now, but stay tuned till March and then you'll see.
Looking forward to that, absolutely. And I think it's an interesting aspect, right? You said that as adults, of course, and as marketeers, we've always focused a lot on the iftar table. And we'll come back because the iftar table is important, right? So we're going to come back to the iftar table. But there's also this notion of Ramadan outside of the iftar table and those moments of play that exist, or the moments of entertainment. And I think if you look at Ramadan maybe a decade, 2 decades ago, the entire family would convene around the TV. You would have your soap operas that would be playing, that would be what would be uniting people. How is family bonding moments changing? How is play changing? And how is technology playing a role in that, especially during the time of Ramadan? And I think, Amar, maybe you can also talk about how the youth are using Snap during Ramadan.
I think it's interesting what you said about a few years ago when everybody would convene around the iftar time, and the peak time of the day was iftar a bit before and a couple of hours after. So what we're seeing in technology now, and it's no secret, everybody has a phone, it's pretty constant. So we've done some studies this year, it's in our new research around Ramadan, around usage throughout the day and throughout all of the periods. And you can see it from suhoor to iftar in every single moment, even during the fasting time where people think that people are fasting, so they're a bit less connected. Actually, no, they're extremely connected throughout the day. Now, of course, every stage of the day has a bit of a different meaning, or, whether it's, let's say, iftar, you're closer, you're having a meal, or you're with your family, etc. But the connected aspect is always there. And that was a surprise for us. We didn't expect it. We thought that it would follow the normal thing because that's how we've been all trained tens of years ago and on TV. So yeah, just to answer your question, they're connected all the time. And again, from a marketeer's perspective, that means that there's a chance to reach them with authentic messages all the time. I just wanted to mention something about authenticity of the message, especially when you're talking about the youth, about Gen Z and the millennials. They're receptive to advertising messages the same way as everybody else is receptive. The only difference is they can, excuse my French, they can smell bullshit. So if it's something that is an extremely polished advertising message that's created by a product manager, they're not going to resonate to it because, again, think about why. They're sitting on a platform, either talking to their friends in a very authentic way or going through content that is very authentic, immersive, etc., and then they see an advertisement. If that advertisement is not done in the same vein to a certain extent, messaging-wise, and the kind of like attributes and values that they're going to see a major difference between, cognitive difference between what you just saw and, oh, this is an ad. It still needs to be an ad. Everybody understands that, and they're interested in being informed and everything, but it's extremely important, and it's very hard as a product manager to accept, and as a brand manager to accept that you have these brand guidelines and these brand attributes that you need to push, and then you need to find a smart way to flip them into being authentic. And we face this all the time, and that's...
I canceled my guidelines for social media videos. So I think that's the major change that's happening with the brands. I mean, I had to say that to my creative agency. I hear you, because I highly echo what you said. It's now we move to social media videos, rather than a TV or ad video. I refuse to see models in my videos for starting from last year or 2 years back. So that's exactly to support what you just said. I can't see models. It has to be a normal social media videos in our malls, shopping, normal shopping, friends, catching up with friends. Maybe we're covering it from a camera perspective, but sometimes I can actually cover it from my phone, and I post it on my brand social media video, and it worked. A lot of videos, just a secret, a lot of videos were we took them by iPhone, and we posted it on Mall of the Emirates social media page. It's that simple. So I agree. Sorry.
No, I think the entire topic of authenticity, the youth smelling bullshit, right? And how easy it is for brands to be authentic. And I think let's shifting back to what I said I will cover earlier, which is the iftar table. And I think that's maybe the moment that screams the most for change and authentic content creation, because you're very used to seeing the perfectly laid iftar table, you know, the gatekeeper playing a hostess role. How is some of that shifting? How should we be driving that change? And what are consumers wanting to see when it comes to communication around that?
I would say there are two changes that we need to keep in mind. The first one is this is and will remain a very important time of the day, where they really appreciate connecting together and getting together. You have a market like Saudi, which is really progressing very fast, and now you see a lot of outdoor iftar happening. The question as a snacking company will be, at a season where there are less hours in the day to snack, and consumers are looking to snack outside, what is the role that you can drive for your brand when they come back, right? But we know that as they come back to the house, there are also still moments for them to connect together between iftar and suhoor. And how we usually look at it is, if they don't like to snack your product as is, because it's a season where there's a lot of desserts, there's a lot of, you know, offerings, can you actually offer your product as consumed with, right? And if I take an example of Cadbury Dairy Milk, or I take an example of Oreo, this is where the brands start to say, if it is consumed with, I would like to reward my consumer with the most appetizing desserts. A brand like Oreo, because we really like to look at our brand as a persona. I think, you know, the ultimate experience you will get as a marketeer is when you start looking at your brand, it's a person. What's the character of the person? What's a personality? This brand is actually activated in a certain market. Does this brand understand the consumer of the market? Does this brand live their ritual? And a brand like Oreo, which is all about inspiring playful connection, and it has a challenge of being consumed with and not as is, will go and create a whole campaign of how they can bring the mom, the dad, and not only the mom, and that's important for inclusion, and the children together to start preparing playful recipes. And even if they don't want to consume it during iftar, there are always times, you know, to consume it. A brand like Cadbury Dairy Milk, which is all about the generosity, the glass and a half, and giving more in the product. And they want to think about how can I consume it with in that moment when I'm back and I'm sitting on my TV or on my channel. We reward them with recipes that had loads of chocolate and experience. So I wouldn't say really that, I mean, we are completely missing out on certain ritual. It's again goes back to the relevancy that your brand brings in order to give a meaning and a role for your brand. And indeed, iftar will remain a very important meal of the day, whether it is consumed in the house or outside the house. And there are always means for your brand to do an impact in the right occasion that you choose.
And it's interesting you brought this point about mom and dad, right? And I think as advertisers, we can be blamed for like propagating some stereotypes in our communication. You know, a decade ago, lanterns were the stereotypes when it came to Ramadan communication, and hence you had a little Lego figurine with a lantern, right? But what are some of the stereotypes that all of us feel we should really be smashing as advertisers and as marketeers?
Let me take this. I have the, I would say, the honor of being part of the Unstereotype Alliance in UAE, the UAE chapter. So we work very closely with the Unstereotype Alliance people. And you will really get shocked when you see the global survey we get. And UAE is one of the market, and we see that around 60% of the population who lives in UAE still believe that our advertising are actually not promoting equality, and we do actually design our advertising with a certain stereotype in mind. And I think as marketeers, all of us in this industry, we really have a mission to change that, right? Because our brands are not only talking to one gender, and we need to ensure that, I mean, we represent females in the right way. And it's our ad should not only be about the mom only preparing the recipe for the family, right? It has to be about, you know, more than that, the role of the mom in elevating, you know, her children. And I will give here, for example, the latest Tank campaign that we did, because Tank is, as you know, the #1 pounded beverage in Ramadan. Tank really believes in the purpose of preparing children for a better future. And the entire campaign that we usually design around Ramadan is centered around values and reminding moms and also the community about the value importance in Ramadan. And we do not only portray it via mom. And the mom role in our ads is not only to prepare iftar. It's about teaching the kids about, you know, the spirit of being compassionate, the spirit of, you know, being helpful, the spirit of respect with elderly people, and that's how we portray it. So we really need to start breaking stereotype. This is so important. We're in 2023, so we have to move.
I agree.
I think also, if I can add to that, I think there's multiple dimensions to D&I as well. It's not just the mom and the dad, but also, you know, perhaps kids with different abilities, right? And I think we tested it last year with one of our campaigns, where we included a child who had you know, a physical disability. And when we tested the ad in Saudi, they liked it. It scored really high, but all of the comments that were coming were really centered around that. They really appreciated the fact that a child was actually included in a communication that you know, addressed perhaps a type of a kid that usually brands do not address. So yeah, more and more, there's lots of different dimensions, I think, so we should be definitely aware of them.
I'm going to speak also on behalf of you. We'll cover Amr as well in this part. So I think from my perspective, we've all been stuck in some stereotype. Let's agree and let's be honest. I think it's something that you mentioned is our brand guidelines, is the way we think that consumers think of our brand, how it can be more presentable, how can we've been all stuck in those guidelines and all, but I think it's in our hands to be bold enough to break some rules. Not for anything. It's not rules for your brand or your, you're not breaking anything that's really affect the business. It's just understanding your consumers and what they want to see and what really resonates on consumers from our advertising or the campaigns that we do. That's what matters. And I always proved, doing some proof that some ads that really had maybe nothing to do with my brand or the crescent. I like the comment from you in the beginning about how we can just stop doing the copy-paste thing, is that when we really think consumers, when we really think us as consumers, would that really resonate? Sometimes I look at my ad and I say, I didn't get it. I didn't get what I was working on, because we're just so so focused in our brand. We know it all. We think that consumers would know it, but I don't think it's not the truth. Sometimes I finish my campaign and I just check with other departments they're not marketeers. I'll be like, what did you get out of this ad? And I get shocked from the answers sometimes. So it's not sometimes what we think. It's always good to check with customers, to check with others on what we are doing and how we can break some rules to make sure that we're really creating the right content, relevant content to our consumers, and also understand our personality more as a brand and how we can, and the duration and the timeline of our campaign and what do we want to achieve out of it. So I think it's in our hand and we have to change. I agree.
I'll just add one more thing, more as an ally than anything else. For all of this to happen, it really needs to reflect in the industry first and foremost. So the decision makers need to. So if you look at this panel, that's actually quite refreshing, right? So the really nice thing would be if we as an industry could reflect this type of diversity in the more senior decision-making circles, so that you don't get these type of reactions, so that it comes naturally to want to break the stereotypes rather than having it be a fight. Because unfortunately, as an industry, we're still not where we should be in terms of representation. So that's the only remark I would wish for to really move and make real progress on that front.
Brave, bold marketeers like yourself will drive the change. I'm cognizant of the time. Nadeem, do you think we can open the floor for some questions maybe? I'm going rogue, am I?
Yeah, we'd like to open the floor. But before we open the floor for questions, I would just like you to all scan that QR code and give your feedback on the panels, the amazing panels that we had. Yeah, right, we can move on to the questions now. Anyone has questions? Got some big brands on the stage. I'm sure you like to. There you go. Can you please introduce yourself first?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Glorian. I own 5G project management. And it's quite interesting to be part of this campaign. It's my first time. I would like to highlight that this is such a great campaign you did today. For Majid Al Futtaim, I have a question because I've been working for sustainability and metaverse. Since you have just recently announced yesterday that Mall of Emirates is Metaverse Mall, so are we going to be VR in the long run during Ramadan, or what's the plan?
Well, I don't think it's actually Omni department who's managing that, but yes, we launched Mall of Metaverse, and we already announced the stores that we have, which I think we have some 2 stores and entertainment. So you can actually link. So during Ramadan, we don't have a specific campaign for Mall of Metaverse for Ramadan because we just really announced it, but it's ready. The mall is ready and it's live and people can actually view it. But there's no specific campaign during Ramadan.
All right, happy to look forward for that.
Thank you so much.
Any other questions? Okay, please introduce yourself.
Thank you very much. I'm Daria. I'm co-founder of analytic tool for e-commerce. My question is more to representative from FMCG and legal. So, which channels you expect the most result? I mean, not the media, but e-commerce channel. Which channels you expect the most results during the Ramadan sales?
I'll take that first. I think the maturity differs by market. So I think Mehdi did already mention that you have markets like UAE where already e-com is at much larger scale than Saudi, which is again, progressing. If we look at snacking, snacking as a category in terms of the percent of business falls definitely behind fashion, beauty, or even home. And usually in those markets where we are again trying to develop and progress ourselves in e-com, the channel that we will be focusing on will be things like InstaShop, things like Amazon. This is really we're seeing the booming of our sales coming from there. So there will be definitely a lot of focus because this is really where consumers are spending most of the time on e-com, and that's where you want to reach them in the most appealing way with the most relevant message to be able to close the deal. Go ahead, Zila.
Yeah, thanks for the question. For us, obviously, a lot of people talked about the challenges in terms of e-commerce and the distribution. But for us, the brick and mortar remains to be one of the key channels because that's where we give the brand experience. People really come and put their hands on the brick. They really experience it. They are inside the universe of all things Lego. And of course, there's a lot of focus from our side on expanding that channel. Last year, we opened 8 different Lego certified stores there in Saudi. So it's a lot of focus on that channel, but also that's where, as I said, the brand is being experienced the most. Thank you.
We have time for one last question. No questions? Brilliant. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the amazing panel. You guys have been amazing. Right. As Amr quoted, while Gen Z and millennials are generally receptive, they can smell bullshit. And if it's extremely polished advertising message, it's not going to resonate with them. Good quote on that. I hope to see you all next at Dubai Links Festival on 14th of March. And please don't forget to take your TikTok bags. They have some nice diaries in them. And thank you, everyone. Thank you for attending. And have a very good remaining day. Thanks a lot.